Come through the sky, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Zay, collectively known as SoCal Uncensored or
SCU! This is Catch, Hook, and Shoot, the worst podcast I've ever been on. Word.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Catch, Hook, and Shoot. Today is Saturday, May the 23rd, 2020. Starting off the show on a little bit of a sad note. Well, no, not a little bit. A big sad note today. For those of you watching on YouTube, you saw the graphic at the top of the show, and those of you listening, you heard the 10 bell right at the beginning. And that is in memory of actually two wrestlers that were lost this week. The first, I'm sure that everybody heard about by now, was Shad Gaspard, former WWE superstar, member of the tag team Crime Time. Passed away earlier this week. Apparently he and his 10-year-old son were swimming in the ocean off of Venice Beach in California. They got caught in a strong current, and the lifeguards, came out to assist, and Shad directed them to help his son first, as any good father would do. And when the lifeguards went back for Shad, he had been taken under by a large wave, and they were not able to find him. And he was found a couple of days later, unfortunately, having passed away. So, I was a huge fan of Crime Time back in the day, so this is... this was a very tough one. By all accounts, Shad was just an amazing human being, obviously a wonderful, loving father, and his last act was to make sure that his son was taken to safety before he was. So his last act, his last thought, was for the well-being of his child. So rest in peace to Shad Gaspard. And then just within the last not even 24 hours, we learned of the passing of Hana Kimura from the Stardom promotion in Japan. Apparently, Hana had posted some pictures online that she had harmed herself. Those pictures were taken down shortly thereafter. A lot of people, apparently reached out to her, tried to check up on her. But she did pass away, just like I said, within the last 24 hours. And this was a result of cyberbullying. And apparently, in addition to being a wrestler for Stardom, Hana also appeared on a Netflix reality show in Japan. From what I've read, it sounds like kind of like Big Brother here in the U.S., something along those lines. And there had been an incident with somebody else on the show, and people just people are very brave online behind a keyboard and a fake picture and a fake name. When there's no accountability, they think they can get away with saying whatever they want to. And in this particular case, it led to a 22-year-old young woman taking her own life because she just couldn't take it anymore. So I poke fun at trolls all the time on this show, and call out people just for being a dick online and things like that. And I try to make light of it and try to basically make fun of these people just for how stupid they are. And but this is what can happen when you think it's okay to just say any stupid thing you want to a stranger online. You don't know what that person has going on, and this is a horrible, tragic example of what can happen when people think it's okay to bully people online. It's not okay. It's not right. I truly hope the ones who were so cruel to this young woman to drive her to this. I really seriously hope there is a way that they can be held accountable because they are responsible. So, yeah, like I said, starting the show off on a very sad note today. But as always, I want to thank everybody for listening, watching, and subscribing on YouTube and all podcasting platforms. Thank you for following on social media. You can find the show at catchhookshoot on all social media platforms. Head to patreon.com/catchhookshoot for all your bonus content and prowrestlingtees.com/catchhookshoot for all your t-shirt needs, where they are having a 20% off Memorial Day weekend sale. So head over there, pick yourself up a shirt or two or three. And if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So let's get back to our normal chaos, which is catch, hook, and shoot, and we'll start that all off like we always do with our match of the week. Alright, so the match of the week this week is coming from AEW Dynamite on this past Wednesday, and I am talking about the match between Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara. These two put on a fantastic match. I mean, Hardy, obviously, longtime veteran. Guevara, not nowhere near as long of a tenure in wrestling as Matt Hardy, but they put on a fantastic match. I mean, I think it was Jim Ross who mentioned Matt Hardy's been wrestling for 27 years, and Sammy Guevara is only 26 years old. So, definitely a clash of the generations here. But the two of them put on an awesome match. I definitely highly recommend going back and checking this one out. Obviously, this one leading up to the match between the Elite and the Inner Circle coming up on Double or Nothing tonight, which I'll get more into that a little bit later on in the show. But yeah, if you only check out one wrestling match this week, I highly recommend that it be Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara from AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday. So, next up on the show is my top 3 highlights of the week, and that is called the 3 count. So first up on the 3 count this week is Dark Side of the Ring. The season finale aired this past Tuesday, and it was the basically the final days of Owen Hart is what it was titled. This was really the first in-depth documentary type show that we've gotten about Owen Hart. Obviously, there has not been anything from WWE since the time of his passing, but definitely interesting to watch. Got to hear from Owen's widow as well as his children for the first time ever that I'm aware of, and definitely gives a different perspective on the death of Owen Hart, as far as talking about the show continuing after he passed away, or after the accident that caused him to pass away, and things like that, and definitely just a very interesting watch. So I would definitely recommend checking it out. And I'm saying definitely a lot today, but anyway, go check out Dark Side of the Ring. Like I said, it was the season 2 finale. Check out, if you have not seen Dark Side of the Ring, check out both seasons. I believe they're on Amazon Prime and Hulu. I don't think it's on Amazon Prime. I don't know. You can find it streaming somewhere. It may cost you a couple of bucks, but absolutely go check out Dark Side of the Ring, because every episode has just been very informative and respectful of the people that it's concerning. It's not trying to glorify or glamorize anything. It's just it's exactly what it says it is. It talks about the some of the darker things that have happened in the world of pro wrestling. So if you get the opportunity, check out Dark Side of the Ring. Number 2 on the 3 count, we saw a face-to-face encounter on AEW on Wednesday between possibly the 2 greatest talkers in the history of pro wrestling, or 2 of the greatest talkers in the history of pro wrestling. If these guys are not 1 and 2, I'd definitely put them in my top 5 at the very least. And I'm talking about Arn Anderson and Jake the Snake Roberts. Arn Anderson, of course, representing Cody Rhodes, and Jake the Snake representing Lance Archer. Talking about the match between those 2 performers that's coming up tonight on Double or Nothing for the first ever TNT Championship. Yeah, like I said, two of the best talkers in the history of the business, going back and forth. Almost looked like it was going to come to blows between the two of them. I'm really hoping we get to see either a spine buster or a DDT or both tonight sometime during the match. I think that would just I think it would just add to it. I'm not saying, I want to see a full-on wrestling match with Arn Anderson and Jake Roberts, because I don't think that would be possible. But, seeing one or both of them get involved in this match between Cody and Archer, I think would just add something to the story. Number 3 on the 3 count this week, Busted Open Radio from yesterday, Friday. They actually had a first-time ever interview with The Undertaker, as well as Michelle McCool. The Undertaker kind of pulling back the curtain a little bit more than he normally would. And here lately with the documentary series The Last Ride, and doing more interviews and appearances and things like that. Like I said, this was the first time he's ever done an interview on Busted Open Radio. And all signs are pointing to The Undertaker's career is winding down, and I've read a few articles, WWE is keeping it very, very tightly guarded as far as when his last match is going to be. So that says to me, that they know at this point when his last match is going to be. Maybe the decision's already been made, or maybe it hasn't. Who knows? Who knows where these stories actually come from. But by all accounts, The Undertaker is also signed to a long-term contract that's going to take him, pretty much until the age of 70 with WWE. Now, I highly doubt he's going to be in the ring that whole time, but he is signed to be a WWE employee for the next 15 years or so. So I'm sure there is some kind of plan in place for him to transition from the ring, possibly to I don't know if he'd be in a backstage role or some type of corporate role. I really don't see that, but who knows? But The Undertaker definitely pulling the curtain back on the Undertaker character a whole lot more recently than we've ever seen before in his last 30 plus years at WWE. So and I know for Undertaker super fans like myself, it's awesome getting to see a little bit more of the man behind the character, getting to learn more about Mark Calloway and things like that. So I'm loving all of this new Undertaker content that we're getting. So moving on to news and rumors for the week, starting off with Raw this past Monday. Edge has accepted Randy Orton's challenge for a match at Backlash. Basically a straight up wrestling match between these two. And WWE is kind of going out of their way to, put plant the seed of this being the quote unquote greatest wrestling match of all time. And they've not been shy about using the word wrestling again. And supposedly that's a Paul Heyman thing. That they're able to actually say the dreaded W word on television again. But honestly, people are laughing and making fun of the whole greatest wrestling match of all time thing. But honestly, look at the guys you've got in the ring. You've got two of the, I dare say, top 10 WWE superstars of all time in Edge and Randy Orton. And, these two guys have the ability to put on a great wrestling match. Will it be the greatest of all time? I don't know. Will it be one of the greatest of all time? Very possibly, if they, go out there and do their thing. If it's, if they're not too restricted in what they're, what they're allowed to do and things like that. So, could it be the greatest match of all time? It's possible. It's not an impossibility. So I think Edge and Orton are going to go out there and steal the show at Backlash. We also saw Nia Jax interrupt Asuka's championship celebration, and Asuka kind of put Nia in her place a couple of times, both in the ring and backstage later on in the show. And this is leading to apparently a triple threat match for the number one contender for Asuka's Raw Women's Championship. Kind of an odd triple threat match. It's going to be Nia Jax, who, pretty obviously she's the one that's been calling out Asuka lately, against Natalya, who really hasn't been in the title picture. And the third participant in that match is Charlotte Flair, who's been pretty much all over the place when it comes to WWE. And I'll get a little more into that later on in the show. But yeah, so that match is coming up this coming Monday. We also saw kind of a WWE hinting at the Iconics maybe splitting up. The Iconics had a tag team title match against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. They ended up losing by disqualification, and then Peyton Royce just kind of snapped and went off a little bit, and they showed backstage, her continuing to just kind of snap and spout off and things like that, and Billie Kay ended up slapping her. So I don't know how this is going to play out. Is it just Billie Kay slapping her to try to, calm her down because she was getting hysterical, or, was she slapping her out of anger, or whatever the case might be. So we'll have to see what the future holds for the Iconics. We also saw one of the stables on Raw, kind of the workhorse stable on Raw lately, lose a member this past week when Andrade and Angel Garza turned on Austin Theory, put a beat down on him, and left him laying at ringside. And then the next segment of the show, Austin Theory joined Seth Rollins as his latest minion or disciple or whatever you want to call him. So Austin Theory now a part of Seth Rollins' stable, no longer with Zelina Vega, Andrade, and Angel Garza. We also saw a little bit more of the partnership that's forming between Lashley and MVP, and as a result of that, Lashley is actually going to be challenging Drew McIntyre for the WWE title at Backlash. I mentioned it before. I like the pairing of MVP and Bobby Lashley, because Lashley, great in the ring, phenomenal athlete, just a great all-around wrestler. The only area where he's ever been lacking is on the microphone, and Lashley or MVP can definitely hold his own in that area. So I think it's a great pairing, especially with MVP kind of transitioning out of the ring into more of a manager's role. He fits that role very, very well because he is good on the microphone. He and Lashley have a history. Him, Lashley, and McIntyre have a history, all three of them, going back to their days in TNA. This is a match that we've seen before, but not in WWE. But I think that's going to be a great title match with those guys. Moving on to NXT, we found out we are going to get a match between Tommaso Ciampa and Karrion Kross at the In Your House TakeOver pay-per-view coming up, I believe it's June 7th. That match is going to steal the show. I'm calling that right now. Ciampa and Kross are they are going to tear each other apart and tear the house down. I cannot wait to see that one. We saw Timothy Thatcher challenge Matt Riddle to a match that can only be won by knockout or tap out. So basically, kind of like MMA rules, knockout or tap out only, no pinfalls, no DQs, no countouts. And Riddle accepted and kind of one-upped him a little bit, said let's do it in a cage, and that is going to take place next week. So this coming Wednesday, cage match, knockout or tap out only between Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher. That is an early contender for match of the week right there. We saw Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae came out, confronted Mia Yim in the ring. LeRae attacked Mia Yim. Looked like Gargano was going to get physically involved, and that brought Keith Lee out to assist and chased off Gargano and LeRae. And as a result of that, Keith Lee challenged Johnny Gargano for the In Your House pay-per-view. Now, it wasn't too clear, and I haven't seen an announcement. I might have missed it. It wasn't clear if this was going to be a one-on-one between Lee and Gargano for the North American title, or is it going to be a mixed tag match between Keith Lee and Mia Yim against Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae. Either way it goes, whether it's a mixed tag or singles match, whatever, it's going to be a good match. Let's see, what else did we have on NXT? Dexter Lumis, really becoming a thorn in the side of the Undisputed Era. Had a match against Roderick Strong, and of course we saw the rest of Undisputed Era try to get involved, and Velveteen Dream came out to kind of counteract them. But Dexter Lumis is a very disturbing kind of creepy, uncomfortable type character, which it's cool. I like it. I'm not saying any of those is a bad thing. It's it's a departure from your standard WWE type character. So I'm definitely interested to see where Dexter Lumis is going to go. We saw another attack by the masked men in the SUV. This time they went after Akira Tozawa outside of Full Sail when he was talking to Phantasma. Sorry about that, but Phantasma did chase the two guys off. So I'm still waiting to see where they're going to go with this. I mean, they've kidnapped, quote unquote, a couple of guys already, and I'm curious to see where it's going to go. They've been dragging this one out for quite a while now. Also found out at the In Your House pay-per-view, we're going to finally get a match between Damian Priest and Finn Balor. That's another one that has the potential to steal the show. So the NXT In Your House is shaping up to be a ridiculously good pay-per-view, but it's really not a surprise. NXT takeovers are always really good. We also saw Charlotte again make an appearance on NXT, taking out Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley, and that is going to lead to a triple threat match at In Your House for the NXT Women's title between Charlotte, Io, and Rhea. Should be another great match. And then moving on to the Cruiserweight Championship Tournament in Block B, we have a winner, and that is El Hijo del Fantasma as the winner of the B block. The A block, not so clear cut, ended up with three guys with a 2-1 record, and that was Kushida, Jake Atlas, and Drake Maverick. And it is a true three-way tie because the victories over each other kind of cancel each other out. Because Atlas defeated Maverick, then Maverick defeated Kushida, and Kushida defeated Atlas, and all three defeated Tony Nese. So it is a true three-way tie in Block A. So as a result of that, we're going to have a triple threat next week between those three guys. A lot of triple threats going on with WWE, but I don't think that's too big of a surprise. So the winner of that match will face Phantasma for the Cruiserweight title, and I would assume that final match is going to happen at the In Your House event as well. For the triple threat, I'm picking Drake Maverick. I'm thinking the final is going to be Maverick versus Phantasma. So we'll have to see how that's going to play out. Moving on to Smackdown, looks like Braun Strowman is going to be defending the Universal title at Backlash in a handicap match against The Miz and John Morrison. Kind of curious where they're going with this. I don't expect to see Miz and Morrison actually win the Universal title, but WWE's done crazier stuff than that in the past, so who knows. It looks like AJ Styles has been traded to SmackDown for superstars to be named later, quote unquote. But AJ is part of the Intercontinental Championship tournament. His first round match was against Shinsuke Nakamura. Great match between these two guys, as was to be expected. I mean, it's AJ and Shinsuke. You can't go wrong. But AJ was victorious in that one, so he will be taking on Elias next week in the semifinals. And the second match, the second match this week for the Intercontinental Tournament was Jeff Hardy taking on Sheamus. And, this one's been coming for a while. Sheamus kind of... Sheamus has kind of been dogging Jeff Hardy for the last several weeks. And, again, another great match between these two guys. Jeff Hardy was victorious. He'll be taking on Daniel Bryan next week in the second semifinal match. Now, I'm looking for Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles in the finals of this Intercontinental title tournament. Obviously they've wrestled before in, throughout their careers through TNA and WWE and things like that. But I'm looking for Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles for the finals of the Intercontinental title tournament. And we also saw Charlotte Flair yet again on SmackDown this week in a match against Bayley, champion versus champion. Bayley did come out on top of that one. Kind of surprising, but so we'll have to see. Charlotte appearing on all three shows is definitely kind of making things interesting with the women's division. So, but I have some more thoughts on that a little bit later on as well. Moving on to AEW news. Actually, no, I'm going to save that for a minute. Let's move on to Impact first. We had Ace Austin and Michael Elgin advance in the number one contenders tournament for the World Championship. So next week it's going to be Michael Elgin versus Trey from the Rascals, and Ace Austin taking on Hernandez in the semifinals. So my pick for the finals of this tournament would be Michael Elgin and Hernandez. That would be a sight to see, those two heavy hitters going at each other in the finals. Also, looks like Madman Fulton has left OVE. OVE just kind of fallen apart since Sami Callihan went out on his own. So, Madman Fulton, the latest casualty of that. So it looks like the Christ brothers are the last holdouts of OVE, which they were the original ones who started OVE. I mean, that was their tag team name, and Sami Callihan joined up with them, and then Madman Fulton was brought in later. So we are back to the tag team of the Christ brothers for OVE. We also saw the X Division champion Willie Mack get a bit of a beatdown from Johnny Swinger and Chris Bay. Willie Mack defended the X Division title against Johnny Swinger, and then Swinger just kind of snapped and lost it and started attacking Willie after the match. Chris Bay came out, thought for half a second he was going to help Willie out, but not quite. He jumped in on the beatdown on Willie Mack. So now I think Rich Swann is supposed to be returning sometime soon. I know he's been on TV, but haven't seen him in a match since he's been injured these last few months. So this is probably setting up for that. Johnny Swinger and Chris Bay against Willie Mack and Rich Swann, I would assume. So we'll have to see how this one plays out. Some news out of MLW was announced earlier this week that they've signed Richard Holliday to a long-term contract extension, and that's a great pickup for them. Richard Holliday, of course, part of the Dynasty with Alex Hammerstone and MJF. Well, not MJF anymore, but MJF was an original member of the Dynasty in MLW. And also found out that Cotto Brazil no longer a part of MLW. Now, this was attributed to a backstage attack in Tijuana, Mexico by a Contra unit during MLW's Super Series with AAA in Mexico. Now, I don't know if this is from a legit injury. I don't think it's from the Contra attack, but I don't know if it's from a legit injury or his contract is just up and he chose not to re-sign with MLW, and this is their way of writing him out of the storylines. So we'll have to wait and see where Cotto Brazil ends up. I'm sure he will end up somewhere because he is another one. He is just a phenomenal athlete. I've seen him live a couple of times. The guy can do some amazing stuff. So we'll have to see where Cotto Brazil ends up. So now moving into some AEW news from Dynamite this past Wednesday, we saw Jon Moxley in a match against 10 from the Dark Order. And now, of course, the Exalted One of the Dark Order, Brody Lee, stole Moxley's AEW title belt a couple of weeks ago, and Moxley won the match versus 10, and basically was saying if Lee didn't return his title, he was going to break 10's arm. He had his arm sandwiched between a chair and was threatening to hit it with another chair, and Brody Lee appeared on the screen from backstage, basically said he didn't care, he was leaving, which he did. He left, and Moxley proceeded to break 10's arm. So, it shows you where the creepers, as they're called, stand with the Exalted One in the Dark Order. So, that's all leading up to Double or Nothing tonight. We also saw a couple of big brawls. The first one happened after a match between Phoenix and Orange Cassidy, which was a great match between those two guys. That was actually almost match of the week this week. But this led to a brawl between SCU, the Best Friends, Kip Sabian, Jimmy Havoc, Colt Cabana all got involved in this, and these, of course, a lot of these guys participants in the ladder match coming up on the pay-per-view tonight, which I'll get into in a little bit. But during that brawl, Phoenix was injured. He hit a spot to the outside of the ring and actually came up short and landed flat back on the concrete, around the floor, and apparently did injure himself. So he had to be replaced in the ladder match. I'll get into that in my preview and predictions of the pay-per-view in a little while. Then the second brawl that we saw was between the Elite and the Inner Circle, and this was after the Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara match at the end of the show. Brawled from Daly's Place into the Jacksonville Jaguar Stadium, which is right next door, and looked like Kenny Omega and Matt Hardy were catching a pretty good beat down, and then we saw the reemergence of the Young Bucks, who haven't been on TV in quite a while. And then we saw, kind of out of nowhere, Hangman Page hit a 100-yard lariat. Now, what do I mean by a 100-yard lariat? Well, while the rest of all these participants were fighting in the end zone inside the football stadium, in the background you could see, somebody was sprinting towards the brawl, and I mean, it turned out to be Hangman Page, and I mean, he did a 100-yard dash in about 6 seconds. And I'm exaggerating, obviously, but I mean, he flew across that field in cowboy boots, no less, and at full speed hit a couple of lariats on the inner circle. So it was a sight to see. So this stadium stampede that's coming up tonight is going to be a very interesting match. Also found out that next week on Dynamite, we are going to have a battle royal for the number one contender for the new TNT title. So that first title defense is going to happen on June 3rd with the winner of that battle royal and the winner of the match between Cody Rhodes and Lance Archer. So let's get into my preview and predictions for the AEW Double or Nothing pay-per-view coming up tonight. First and foremost, on the kickoff show, we're going to have a tag team match between Private Party and the Best Friends. I'm picking Private Party in this one. This is for the number one contender for the tag team championship. So the winner of this match is going to get a title match against Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. I'm picking Private Party. I think Private Party really is the future of the tag team division in AEW. So whether they win the titles or not at this point, I don't know. But I definitely am picking them to pick up the win in this number one contender match today. Moving on from there, got a challenge match between Dustin Rhodes and Shawn Spears. Shawn Spears made an appearance on Dynamite and kind of trash talking the Rhodes family, which is no surprise from Shawn Spears, and challenging Dustin to a match at Double or Nothing, which was booked pretty much immediately. So with this one, I'm actually going to pick Shawn Spears. I mean, Dustin. I mean, I love Dustin Rhodes. So it's kind of hard for me to pick in this one, but I'm picking Shawn Spears because I think Dustin, his spot in AEW is the one to help the younger guys get over and things like that. So I'm picking Shawn Spears in this one. Excuse me. Got all kinds of issues today. But anyway, next up we've got MJF taking on Jungle Boy in a singles match. I'm picking Jungle Boy in this one. I'm probably going to end up being wrong. It's probably going to end up being MJF. But my pick is Jungle Boy. Just like I was talking about, Private Party is the future of the tag team division. I think Jungle Boy is one of the guys who's going to be a top star in the title picture in the years to come in AEW. But the same can be said for MJF. These are both very, very young guys, so it's hard to really pick a winner. But in this particular case, I'm going with Jungle Boy. Then we've got for the Women's Championship, Nyla Rose taking on Hikaru Shida. I'm picking Nyla Rose in this one. She's just been such a dominant champion. I think they're going to keep it that way for a while. I'm I'm looking for this to be a really good match, but I'm looking for Nyla to retain the title. Then we've got another women's match. It was originally supposed to be Britt Baker taking on Chris Statlander, but Britt Baker was injured on Dynamite as well. So she is being replaced by Penelope Ford, taking on Chris Statlander in a singles match. So my pick in this one, even before Britt was injured and replaced, but my pick for this one is Chris Statlander. She's one. I think she is one of the top women that they have right now. And I've become a big fan of Chris Statlander just in the last several months. So I'm picking the alien from the Andromeda Galaxy to pick up the win in this one. And then we've got, of course, the as I was talking about, the TNT Championship match between Cody and Lance Archer. I'm picking Cody to win this one. I know a lot of people are going to roll their eyes talking about Cody giving himself the championship and things like that, but I don't see it that way. I mean, yeah, Cody's an executive with the company, but I think he's already proven that he's not going to be booking himself as the number one guy in the company. I mean, he's already removed himself from the world title picture, seemingly for good, and so I don't, I just don't think that's a justifiable argument against Cody. So, but yeah, I'm picking Cody Rhodes to be the first ever TNT champion, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Murder Hawk Monster ended up with that title as well. I mean, it could go either way. Archer obviously is going to be pushed as a top, probably the top heel in the company. Actually, there's a lot of top heels in the company. I mean, you've got Archer, you've got Brody Lee, you've got MJF, so but Archer definitely right up there at the top of that list. So it wouldn't be too big of a surprise to see Lance Archer win that title. But then, of course, you got Arn Anderson and Jake the Snake Roberts at ringside as well. Like I said, I'm hoping to see the two of them get involved a little bit. I'm not looking for them to take over the match, but like I said, a Spinebuster, a DDT, or both, I think would be just a really cool spot in this particular match. And also you've got the wild card of Mike Tyson being there to present the championship to the winner. So this is going to be an interesting match. But I'm sticking by my pick. I'm picking Cody Rhodes to win the first ever TNT championship. Then we've got what they're calling the Casino Ladder match, and this is for a shot at the World Championship. Kind of a twist on a Money in the Bank match. I mean, people complain, oh, it's ripping off Money in the Bank and blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? Deal with it. I mean, there's only so many different types of matches and variations on those types of matches you can do. So, you want to say somebody's ripping somebody off, it's old. I mean, let it go. But basically the concept behind this one is there will be a poker chip, and I'm assuming it would be an oversized poker chip, hanging above the ring. And the object of the match will be to climb up, grab that poker chip, and that gets you a world title match. The twist is the match will start off with two guys, and then every 90 seconds, I believe it is, another competitor will come into the ring. It's a 9-person match. So kind of Royal Rumble type rules, but the interesting thing is the chip can be retrieved at any time. You don't have to wait for all the competitors to enter the ring to be able to climb up the ladder and grab the poker chips. So, I mean, the match could potentially end before everybody's even in the ring. So that interesting twist on the ladder match. Now, 8 of those participants have been announced already, and those are Darby Allin, Colt Cabana, Orange Cassidy, Joey Janela, who's taking the place of Rey Fenix. As I said a little while ago, Phoenix was injured. Scorpio Sky, Kip Sabian, Frankie Kazarian, and Luchasaurus are the 8 competitors that have been already announced. The 9th one, they've said, is a mystery competitor, and there's been people trying to guess and putting out theories and ideas of who this could be ever since it was announced that it would be a mystery competitor. Honestly, it could literally be anybody. It could be somebody that is already part of the AEW roster. It could be a free agent who we haven't seen yet. Who knows? I mean, the list of possibilities is almost endless. Now, my particular guess for who the 9th competitor in the ladder match is going to be is Brian Cage. That's my guess. He left Impact Wrestling when his contract expired earlier in the year. He's been out for a while because of an injury. He has been cleared for a return because the surgery he had was several months ago. He's back in ring shape. He's ready to go. So Brian Cage is my pick. But also we saw Pac kind of reemerge on Dynamite. Obviously hasn't been able to be there live because of the travel restrictions, but had a vignette this past week. So it could be him showing back up. It could be Jimmy Havoc. It could be Pentagon. If he's able to travel back to the U.S., it could be Christopher Daniels. I saw somebody throw out the idea it could be Marty Scurll, which would be interesting. Jeff Cobb, who's made a couple of appearances with AEW in the past, but we haven't seen him in a while. Yeah, Jeff Cobb, definitely a possibility. Some people are throwing out the idea of Drew Gulak. I don't think that's going to be the case. By all accounts, he's still in negotiations for a new contract with WWE, but who knows? While he is a free agent, he's not doesn't have any restrictions on him. There's nothing to stop him from showing up for a one-off appearance for this ladder match. Then you've got Gallows and Anderson, Eric Rowan, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, EC3, Leo Rush, Heath Slater, The Revolt, formerly The Revival. Mike Bennett, who's recently, a lot of these guys that were recently released from WWE, Rusev, Chris Hero, or Cassius Ohno as he was known in NXT. Huge on the independent scene, and definitely sorely missed because he was just a phenomenal performer. Wouldn't surprise me to see Chris Hero in this match. And of course, there's people that are throwing out the name of Sting. Now, I wouldn't surprise me to see Sting show up in AEW. I don't think we're going to see his first appearance be in a ladder match, considering he hasn't been in the ring in 5 years. So, but hey, I've been wrong before, but I really don't think that's going to be the case. But however it goes, like I said, my pick for the mystery participant is Brian Cage, but my pick for the winner of the Casino Ladder match is Darby Allin. Darby has been presented as just a phenomenal star in AEW, and he's been right at the top of the card. Has had 3 outstanding matches with Cody Rhodes, and he will be world champion at some point. So my pick for this particular match is Darby Allin. Then what else do we have here? Okay, for the world championship, we've got Jon Moxley defending against Brody Lee. This is going to be a great match. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be possibly bloody. I haven't seen anything about this being like a no DQ match, but they tend to be very, very lenient and flexible with the rules in championship matches in AEW. So wouldn't surprise me to see some blood flowing in this particular match. And then finally, we have the Stadium Stampede match, which is basically not just an empty arena match, but an empty stadium match. These guys are going to have an entire football stadium to beat the hell out of each other in, and it's the Elite versus the Inner Circle, and of course Matt Hardy, part of the Elite team. Now, for me, I am picking the Inner Circle to win this match. I mean, I would assume it still has to end in a pinfall somewhere in that arena. Pinfall or a submission, but I'm picking the Inner Circle because I think they're going to save the Elite's victory for when the Blood and Guts match finally comes around, the double cage match. So we'll have to wait and see. I could be wrong. This could be the Elite's big moment of victory over the Inner Circle here, because we don't know when they're going to be able to do that Blood and Guts match. But that's my prediction, is the Inner Circle for the Stadium Stampede. All right, so that is my previews and predictions for the AEW Double or Nothing pay-per-view coming up tonight on BR Live and on traditional pay-per-view outlets, as well as Fight app outside of the U.S. So definitely check it out. It's going to be, on paper, it's an awesome show. So I cannot wait to see it live. So with that, that's going to do it for news and rumors for the week. So right now, I am going to throw it over to Charlie G, and he is here with your Indie Cut.
Thank you, Tom, and keep up the great work on the show. Hey, the wrestling friends, I am Charlie G with your Indie Cut. There was very little wrestling this week, and one news item, so let's get to it. With Dragon Gate King of the Gate 2020 Day 3 on May 17th. First round match were still Ben K defeating Kajtura, Alita defeating Strong Machine J, Kazuma Sakamoto defeating Masaki Zukyu, and Dragon Dia defeating Takashi Yoshida. On May 22nd, Dragon Gate King of the Gate 2020 Day 4. Second round matches of Yamato defeating KZY, Diamante defeating Yosuke Santa Maria, and in tag matches, which I'm not understanding, was Konomama Ichikawa and Saijiko Hoko Machine defeated Gamma and K-Ness 3 times in 5 seconds, and then in their 4th match, Gamma and K-Ness defeated Konomama and Sasuko Machine in 12 minutes. I wish I understand what was going on, but that's Dragon Gate for you, and very limited options for me to view. That's all for the matches this week. The news item was Arisho Hashiki from Stardom, who has been out of action since February, announced she is forced to retire due to a neck injury and brain trauma. Hoshiki also revealed in a statement that she has been struggling mentally and physically for quite some time due to her recent injuries. Hoshiki, who turned 25 in October, will vacate the Wonder of Stardom Championship, otherwise known simply as the White Belt, immediately. In a heartfelt statement made on Stardom's YouTube channel, Hoshiki apologized to Natsuko Tora, who she was scheduled to defend the White Belt against at the No People's Gate show back in March. She also mentioned Julia, confirming that she was on her next defense after Tora, and Tam Nakano, who has become one of her best friends off-screen, and someone to whom she wanted to give a title shot in the future. Hoshiki was a member of Stardom's original class of students alongside Mayu Iwatani. She debuted in 2011, but retired a little over a year later to pursue interests outside of pro wrestling, namely kickboxing and her singing career. She returned to wrestling in Stardom in 2018 on a part-time basis, but enjoyed it so much that she announced that she would become a full-time member of the roster after winning the 2019 Cinderella tournament. Hopefully she can fully recover and have a promising life ahead of her in whatever she may do, which she might go back to singing for all we know. But all the best to her. Now for the Throwback Machine and Lucha Underground episodes 5 and 6. Episode 5, the Boyle Heights Street Fight from November 26, 2014. We start the show with Dario Cueto and Conan talking business, mainly about Prince Puma and Big Rick in a Boyle Heights street fight, pursued by Conan. Not sure why he's putting his guy under the bus, but that's Conan for you, folks. Match 1 was Mil Muertes with Katrina against Drago. Drago tried to use his speed and agility to get in some offense early, only to be caught hard and fast. During the match, King Cuerno scouted from one of the corners inside the temple. The two went back and forth in a very good match. In the end, Drago tried a top rope move only to get caught by a giant spear by Muertes, which led to the flatliner for the win, and another lick of death from Catrino. After the match, Cuerno came down to the ring side and landed a Falcon Arrow to a knocked out Drago. So I guess we all know who he was watching. After a break, we see a video for Johnny Mundo. Dario runs into Katrina and Mil in the hallway, saying Mil Muertes learned long ago that you can't keep darkness locked away forever, assuming the key around Cueto's neck. Next match was Masquerita Sagrada against Son of Havoc with Ivelisse in his corner. Before the match began, both Ivelisse and Havoc made fun of Sagrada's size, which is pretty low for them, but you know, that's what wrestling is about. Sagrada had an early advantage till Ivelisse tripped him from the outside. Havoc had his way with Sagrada from that point on. And once again, another person comes into the temple to look at the competitors, this time a mystery woman. A cool moment happened soon after she leaves as Sagrada hit a suicide dive onto Ivelisse, which seemed to turn the tide in the match. Sagrada then chased her around the ring, meeting up with Havoc as the two held each other outside. Sagrada made his way to the top rope, landing a big crossbody onto Havoc. Back in the ring, Sagrada avoided Havoc's attack with a tilt-a-whirl head scissor roll-up for the shocking win. Very cool match between these three, I guess you can say. Next match is Chavo Guerrero Jr. against Sexy Star. This match was short and more of a payback match for Sexy Star. Chavo grabbed a kiss from Star, which pissed her off even more. She grabbed a chair only for the referee to stop her from using it. So she kicked him right between the legs for a DQ loss. Star kept the chair in hand, walking around towards Chavo, only for Pentagon Jr. to come out and take the chair away. Penta and Chavo called a truce as Chavo went after Star. Then Phoenix came out to help with a top rope heel kick, planting the chair into Penta's face. Phoenix then hit a capo kick on Chavo, which with help from Phoenix, Star hit a flying Hurricanrana on Chavo to fend both men off. That was actually a very cool move between the two. Now finally for the main event, it was Big Rick with Cortez Castro and Mr. Cisco at his side against Prince Puma in a Boyle Heights street fight. So it's technically a street fight, California style. Puma tried to use his speed early on, but Rick just overpowered him. Of course, Castro and Cisco tried to interfere, only to fail. Puma landed a DDT on Rick, sending him to the outside between his friends. Puma then hit a sweet handspring twisting Red Arrow on all three. Back in the ring, Puma's high-flying moves seemed to have no effect on Rick, who then took back control of the match, using a trash can and letting Castro and Cisco have some fun. Puma fought back with a dropkick to Rick while he sat on a chair, using a kendo stick to no avail, only to get clotheslined by Rick soon then after. A ladder was brought into play against Puma as Rick set him up to be sacrificed. Johnny Mundo came up flying out from one of the lower roofs, almost landing on Rick. Very cool move and kind of dangerous, if you might say. Mundo fought off all three men, grabbing a chair to hit Rick, only for him to duck and hit Puma instead. Castro and Cisco landed a flapjack codebreaker on Mundo, leading Rick to side slam Puma through a table for the second week in a row. Kind of nice main event and a good way to end the show, the whole suspense to next week, which is episode 6, The Key, from December 3rd, 2014. The show started with Dario Cueto congratulating Big Rick on signing a big money contract to work exclusively for Cueto and Lucha Underground, and that his kind of violence is very entertaining to him. We head to the ring where Ivelisse blasts the management for the talent they have had to deal with of late. The Son of Havoc challenged anyone in the back to face him, man to man, and a new character came into play in Pimpinella Escalada, who answered the call. Pimpinella began wrestling in 1988 with EMLL, and then AAA soon thereafter, and is considered an exotico. I'm sorry about that. With the ring name translating to the Scarlet Pimpinel, Escalada is still working in a few Mexican promotions, including AAA. So the first match is Pimpinel Escalada against Son of Havoc. This was a back and forth match, even with some help from Ivelisse. No one had a lot of control. Ivelisse tried to help again, only for Masquerita Sagrada to come out to chase her around. During the distraction, Pimpinella gave Havoc a kiss into a roll-up for the win. Kind of fun style. He was brand new to me. Very cool to see. After the break, we find Cueto in the bathroom only to be confronted by Johnny Mundo and him taking his key of safety as insurance to get his money that is owed to him from episode 1. Next match is Mil Muertes with Katrina defeating Famous B, another new character. He debuted for the Santino Bros Wrestling, based out of California, in August 24th of 2008. And he pretty much stayed through the indies throughout, even during the Lucha Underground timing. And most recently, he is in Australia at Battle Championship Wrestling. So he is still performing to this day. Muertes jumped the bell as Famous B had his back turned. This was a quick match as B had no chance with the power of Muertes. It's pretty much a squash match. In the end, he landed a huge spear and a flatliner for the win. And of course, Katrina gave the look of death once again. After the match, we see a video package for Drago and his whereabouts and how he came about, which led to the next match of King Cuerno against Drago. Both men used their speed and agility early and often. The mystery woman from last week's episode appeared again in the crowd. Still no sign why or who she is there for. The spot of the match was Drago landing a tope firefly on a Cuerno on the floor, and then Cuerno hit a perfect suicide dive on the Drago soon thereafter, which gave Cuerno the upper hand as he hit his Thrill of the Hunt driver for the win in a cool match. Cuerno holds Drago, claiming the hunt has just begun. So they're not done with their matches, I'm sure. Before the main event began, Mundo came out to the ring wanting Cueto to come into the ring and give him his $100,000 he is owed from episode 1. Big Rick then came out to stop Mundo, only to eat a flying body press on the floor. Then Conan, of all people, comes out claiming Mundo owes his money to Puma. While distracted, Big Rick came in the ring to beat down Mundo a bit until Prince Puma came out to save the day, where he and Mundo teamed up for a double dropkick on Rick. Then it looked like Mundo and Puma called a truce and started trading punches in the ring until security came out to pull both men apart. Finally, Cueto appeared, showing his face from his office door with the money in the briefcase in hand, saying the money is Big Rick's signing bonus, only he has to earn it in a $1,000 ladder match next week in a triple threat between Rick, Mundo, and Puma, which should be a great match. The main event saw Phoenix and Sexy Star team up against Pentagon Jr. and Chavo Guerrero Jr. Phoenix and Star got the early advantage with a lot of Phoenix agility. When Star was tagged in, Chavo and Pentagon used their strength to control, even when Star tagged Phoenix back in, both Chavo and Penta kept up the momentum for the most part with multiple tags. They work good as a team for sure. Finally, Phoenix was able to break free to tag Star, who used her intensity and rest that was built up, putting the boots to both men, even hitting a corkscrew dive onto Penta on the outside. It got even wilder as Phoenix landed a 450 twist onto all three. Both very cool moves. In the end, it was a cool reversal of fortune when Phoenix super kicked Pentagon, who had Star set for an easy driver that turned into a sunset flip powerbomb. Then Phoenix landed a double knees onto Penta's face, allowing Star to pin Pentagon for the big win. A good finish. It was a great match, and pretty much the match of the week between the two shows. That's actually a wrap for me. Till next time, with any indie news or shows that come along the way. Don't forget to look at those Twitch streams and YouTube channels for any wrestling content. I hope all you checked out Warrior Wrestling 6 on the High Spots Wrestling Network Twitch channel. If not, you could probably still go back and check it out. I highly suggest you do. It was a great night of action, and the chat was actually kind of fun. They had Alex Zane, Tessa Blanchard, Frank the Clown, and Brian Pillman all joined in the chat. So it's a cool night, indeed. Thank you for watching or listening. Hope you enjoyed the cut. Miss you, Owen. Stay safe. Take care, everyone. And back to you, Tom.
All right, that was Charlie G with your Indie Cut. And as always, thank you to Charlie for all your contributions to the show. So, yeah, this part of the show is normally where I would call out the what I call the troll of the week. And I talked about it earlier. It's meant in to be tongue-in-cheek, and it's meant to be funny, and it's meant to just kind of call out people for being a dick online and things like that. But with what's happened just over the last 24 hours, it's not a joke. I mean, a very prominent wrestler, and a very young wrestler, and more importantly than that, a human being, a young woman, a 22-year-old woman, lost her life because of online assholes. Because people think they have the right to judge and criticize and say whatever they want to whoever they want without consequence. Because they have a keyboard and a fake name and a fake picture on social media, they think they're invincible and they're untouchable, and they can say and do whatever they want and be as big of an asshole as they want to be. And this is the result. Somebody lost their life, and it's not the first time that something like this has happened, and it probably won't be the last, unfortunately. But this is one of the more high profile people that this has happened to, and a lot of American fans may not be super familiar with Hana Kimura, but in Japan she was the top star in the Stardom women's promotion, and a lot of American fans are familiar with her, and there's just been a huge outpouring of love and sadness online since her death was announced. But I had a certain person picked out that I was gonna call out on the Troll of the Week this week, and I'm gonna save that until next week, because it just doesn't seem right to be making light of trolls right at this particular time. But I've called out so many different people on this show for just acting like complete douchebags online, and some of the worst ones are ones that think they're justified in what they say. People like Jim Cornette, people like DJ Storms, people like JD, and people like Tom Segura, the hack half-ass comedian, and people like them and their fans and their followers who think they're so funny and they're just spouting so much truth. No, they're not. They're being assholes for the sake of being assholes. And yeah, some of these people, you guys might not know who they are unless you're active in the Twitter wrestling community. I'm sure you all know who Jim Cornette is. You've heard me talk about him plenty. But JD from New York with his little podcast and YouTube show, it looks like the love child of Vince Russo and Brad Shepard. And then DJ Storms, who's one of JD's little minions, who thinks he, guys, these literally, they're kids. JD and DJ Storms, they're freaking kids. And Tom Segura thinks he's being funny by just talking trash at people for nothing more than being wrestling fans. You are the problem. You are a huge part of the problem, because you are the ones who these people look at as role models, as terrifying as that is. But, people like this are the problem. These people like them, their fans, their followers, you are the ones who drive people to do things like this. And, there needs to be some type of consequences for it. There needs to be a way to hold these people accountable, because it's not okay. And don't come at me with the freedom of speech bullshit. Doesn't apply. When the moment your speech incites or causes some type of violence or harm against another human being, whether it's direct or indirect, then your freedom of speech no longer applies. Plain and simple. So, that's pretty much all I'm going to say about it right now. But, guys, be better. Have some compassion. Have some empathy. You don't know what other people are going through. If you disagree with them, walk away. Why do you need to, argue? Or if you're, and debating opinions is fine. I love talking about different opinions on subjects with people when it can actually be a discussion and not an argument, or not flinging insults back and forth, because that's what passes for a discussion on social media nowadays. It's, I'm right, you're wrong, fuck you, you're stupid. That's what a debate on social media consists of in a nutshell. So, just be better, do better. Have some compassion. We are all human beings. We all have some type of something going on in our lives, and nobody else. Like I said, you don't know what somebody else has going on, so you have no right at all to just think it's okay to dump on that person because you don't like them or you don't like a character they play on TV. That's just the stupidest thing that I've ever heard is. Dumping on a human being because you don't like their on-screen character, or you disagree with their opinion on a wrestling match of all things, or some other trivial bullshit. It's not. Honestly, it's not that important to get into these kind of insult matches, if you want to call it that. But guys, just have some compassion, have some empathy. Think before you talk. Think about how you would feel if someone said these kind of things to your mother or your father or your child, or somebody you care about. So just think a little bit. Have some compassion. Have some empathy, and think about somebody other than yourself. That's what it comes down to. So that's gonna do it. Like I said, I'll get back to my normal troll of the week stuff next week, but it just doesn't feel right today to get into that. So, all right, let's move on to the next segment of the show. A little bit more fun here, and this is always one of my favorite things to try to come up with during the week. And I am talking about putting together a matchup or a faction or something like that never potentially could never happen in reality. And I am talking about the fantasy booker. Alright, so this week's Fantasy Booker was inspired by the episode of Dark Side of the Ring this past week about Owen Hart, and something that Chris Jericho said when he was talking about Owen and mentioning all of the amazing talent that came into WWE very shortly after Owen's passing, and some of the potentially great matches that Owen could have had. And I mean, his career would have skyrocketed because he passed away right before kind of a shift in WWE, and I mean, it's tragic. I mean, his death in and of itself is tragic. Obviously, one of the greatest performers of all time, husband, a father, and it was just needless. His death was completely unnecessary. Didn't have to happen. But anyway, the fantasy booking that I'm talking about this week, inspired by what Chris Jericho said on Dark Side of the Ring, is Owen Hart versus Eddie Guerrero. I mean, you've legitimately got two of the greatest performers of all time, and two guys who could legitimately have put on the single greatest wrestling match anyone has ever seen anywhere. I firmly believe that. I mean, you look at what both of these guys can do in the ring as far as technical skills, as far as high-flying stuff. Look at the personalities that both guys had. I mean, this could have been not just the greatest match ever, the greatest rivalry ever with these two guys. And, it was just, something that wrestling fans were robbed of, because both of these guys were lost way, way, way too soon. But yeah, I mean, Owen Hart versus Eddie Guerrero, that is a WrestleMania main event anywhere, anytime, any arena in the world. That is a main event. And I would have loved the opportunity. I'm sure any wrestling fan would have loved the opportunity to see that match between these two. So that's it for the fantasy booker for this week. Owen Hart versus Eddie Guerrero. Just tragic that we, it's something we never got to see. So moving on from there, moving into the final segment of the show here, and the usually kind of an unpopular opinion, and that's why it's called the Weekly Hot Take. So my hot take for this week is Charlotte Flair right now is the face of WWE. A lot of people aren't going to be happy about that. A lot of people are going to disagree. They're going to try to argue. I mean, Charlotte gets so much hate, it's ridiculous, for literally for no reason, mostly just because her last name is Flair, and, people seem to ignore anything she does in the ring and just focus on her last name and say she's been handed everything. Yeah, I'll let that one go for right now. But yeah, Charlotte right now is the face of WWE. She's on every show, Raw, SmackDown, NXT. Roman Reigns is gone, for the moment until the pandemic and the lockdown is over with. Becky Lynch is gone, for at least a year, if not more. She's having a child, so yes, there is a timetable when the birth of the child is concerned, but there's no timetable for her coming back after her and Seth's child is born. Obviously, it's not just a matter of having the baby and then going back to work, especially when we're talking about a professional athlete. It's when somebody becomes a parent, for those of you out there who don't have kids, you want to spend time with that child. That's part of being a parent. So I don't expect Becky to just be gone for 9 months and pop back up at the Royal Rumble next year. I'd expect at least an additional 6 months after their child is born for Becky to be gone. But my guess, my kind of theory is we're not going to see Becky Lynch until Survivor Series of 2021, or possibly Royal Rumble of 2022. That's, like I said, that's my guess. That's not based on anything I've read or any dirt sheets or anything like that. That's just my own theory. We are not going to see Becky for, I would guess, at least 18 months. But yeah, as of right now, Charlotte is the face of the WWE. She's the one that's on every single show. She's getting a lot of camera time. She's already the NXT champion. She's had a match with the Smackdown champion this past week. She's in a number one contenders match for the Raw championship this coming week. She's got a triple threat title match at the NXT pay-per-view on June 7th. I'm sure she will be involved in a match on Backlash, one way or another. So, yeah, Charlotte is everywhere in WWE right now, and it honestly wouldn't surprise me to see WWE put all three women's championships on her at the same time in the next few weeks to months. Would not surprise me at all. And, despite what everybody wants to say about Charlotte and things like that, she is a phenomenal athlete. She's great in the ring. She's good on the mic. Not as good as her dad, but she's pretty good on the mic. And you know, I'm sorry, like it or not, you know, she's got the look, she's got the ability, and everything like that to be the top star in WWE, and that's right now exactly what she is. So yeah, like it or not, Charlotte is the face of the WWE. Deal with it. That is my hot take for the week. All right, so that is going to wrap things up for me this week. I wanted to let you guys know, I mentioned previously on the show about the Wrestling Behind Ringside Hall of Fame. Wanted to let you guys know that the voting for that will take place on June 1st through June 5th on Facebook and Twitter. So head over and make sure you are following Wrestling Behind Ringside on Facebook and Twitter so you can take part in the Hall of Fame voting. And yeah, make sure you check out WrestlingBehindRingside.com, Wrestling Behind Ringside podcast. Yeah, and like I said, head over to Facebook and Twitter. Follow Wrestling Behind Ringside so you can vote in their Hall of Fame voting coming up on June 1st through June 5th. So that is going to do it for this week. Hopefully, you know, this next coming week will be better. It won't be so much sad news. And also, I forgot to mention, and I have to apologize for neglecting to mention this earlier, the passing of wrestling journalist Larry Zonka. Not the Larry Zonka that was a football player, but this particular Larry Zonka was a very well-respected wrestling journalist. He passed away this past week as well. So rest in peace to him as well. And, you know, condolences to the friends, family, loved ones of all of the wrestlers and that have passed away this past week. So with that, I am going to sign off. Hope everybody enjoys Double or Nothing coming up tonight on BR Live. And, hope everybody has a great upcoming week. And I will talk to you guys soon.